In the United States, the inflation report has come out better. It's a lower inflation number. As you know, sometimes the United States report bounces around up and down, but it's distinctly less. It was less than what was expected. And it's a great number for the U.S. Fed to start to consider cutting rates. So concurrently, we're seeing a jobs report. The jobs report was not bad out of the U.S., not bad at all, but not great. And, we were historically looking at really robust jobs reports out of the U.S. all last year, and that has certainly crawled to a finish that gets not robust anymore. It's good. It's better. It's much better than Canada. Far better than Canada, but not great. The combination of these two factors would indicate that the U.S. Federal Reserve clearly observing a slowing U.S. economy, not a crashing U.S. economy, not a sliding into the crapper economy like we're experiencing in Canada, but a slowing U.S. economy. All the more reason for that Federal Reserve, which is a dual mandate to maintain full employment and fight inflation, that they would start to consider rate cuts because inflation appears to be finally coming under control in the U.S. So what does that mean for Canada? It means Tiff Macklin says, whoopee! Oh, thank God. I've been wanting to consistently cut. I cut once. I cut in June. Maybe I should cut in July, says Tiff Macklin. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the Bank of Canada governor is guaranteed to cut, but these reports out of the U.S. make it clear that sometime this year, the U.S. Fed will cut. It could be as soon as September. There's some prohibitions against that in the U.S. And in September, October, traditionally, during an election, a U.S. presidential election, they do not change rates. But we might see something quickly, and then we might see some cuts in the U.S. rapidly after the election is over. So no matter how you slice it, the reality is, and it's been the reality for months now around the world, is that central banks, with a few outliers like Australia, that central banks will all likely begin a cutting cycle. Most of them have, or certainly within the next 45 days, most of them will have commenced cuts. So what's it mean to Canada? It's now no longer a question of, will there be cuts? There's cuts. We've already had one. This U.S. inflation report combined with the sort of not fantastic job report means that more cuts are coming in Canada because, well, in the perfect world, Tiff Macklin, the Bank of Canada governor, would like to be able to match the Federal Reserve cut for cut. It has less impact on the Canadian dollar versus U.S. dollar problem. And in many ways, that's just where Tiff wants to go. So what's the thing to think about really? What's the real, just sort of than breaking down all the little points of discussion about how this affects rates in Canada, let's just assume the rates are coming down. So if we assume the rates are coming down, the most intelligent question after that is, how fast and where will they go? Like, where's the end point? Where's the terminal rate? Where's the point where how much will they cut before they stop cutting? That's the right question to ask. In all likelihood, a rational estimate might be the Bank of Canada rate, which is now at 4.75, will drop all the way to 3%. That's what I believe to be a strong likelihood. So what's that mean? To mortgage rates, that means a variable rate of around 4%. I know, wait a second, Ron, if the Bank of Canada rate is 3, why is a commercial bank 4? Well, that's because commercial bank prime is 2.2% higher than the Bank of Canada rate. So you take the Bank of Canada rate of 3, 5.2. If you add the 2.2, subtract. If you got a great variable rate mortgage product, subtract 1.2, 4%. 4% is an available variable rate. You can pretty much assume that you will see fixed rates higher, because traditionally fixed rates are always a little higher than the best variable rate. It's consistently true. So you might expect to see fixed rates down around the mid 4s to low 4s in the case of a high ratio mortgage rate. Will you see some 3s? Is it possible that the Bank of Canada could end up at a terminal rate of 2.75? Possible, but unknown. Easier just to say. We will see a variable rate of 4% in Canada. But when will we see it? Here's the deal. Rationally, it's a question of how bad the Canadian economy gets. How bad? Okay. Higher unemployment. If employment surpasses 8%, that's a very bad day. That will be a terrible day. Falling GDP, falling gross domestic product. It's already consistently bad for individual gross domestic product, but for the whole country, buoyed by immigration, which may slack off next year, that could come down. Rising bankruptcies. Bankruptcies are on the rise right across Canada in a significant way. And continuing lower inflation, which is a natural outgrowth of an economy that's extremely weak. So will that 4% variable rate sometime in 2025? Because that's how long it'll take to get to 3. It'll be sometime in 2025. Will it be mid-2025? Will it be the end of 2025? I'm thinking mid. I'm thinking we'll see a 3% Bank of Canada rate, a 4% variable rate by mid-2025. Will that completely reignite the real estate market? Will house prices go through the roof again? Will people lose their minds? Probably not, because the reality is that in a lousy economy with rising unemployment and rapidly increasing numbers of bankruptcies and pretty much every other shitty thing that can happen in an economy going on, people don't normally just run around and try to pay the top price for houses. That's my view today.